this thing on.
Hello, and welcome to DFS Deep Dive. My name is Brian Craighead, and I'll be one of your three hosts. I will introduce my co-hosts Luke and Mav momentarily. Needless to say, we will be covering NFL daily fantasy sports, and DraftKings will be our platform. We are a recurring weekly Friday night pod, and proud to be part of the Cut Podcast Network. You can find all of our written content at thecutffb.com, and on Twitter you can find us at thecutffb. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at VandyGrad92. I do 4 other websites along with this, several DFS articles, just a wide variety of stuff that goes on. So at this point in time, I'd like to introduce both Mav and Luke. If y'all give your Twitter handles a little bit more about yourself.
What's up, guys? My name is Maverick. Go by Protagonist on Twitter. That is mostly my gaming handle. So obviously, you guys can more than welcome to call me Maverick. I am a Pats fan. So I know this week is just I forgot what they call that, but I know the main attraction is next week. So still trying to stay focused on the Saints this week. But mostly on Twitter, I talk about gaming, movies, anything fantasy related. I'm always down to debate or anything fantasy related. Any questions, I'm more than willing to give my input. Mostly what I do is just I'm mostly just doing this for fantasy football related.
Yeah, my name is Lucas DePow. That's at my Twitter handle as well, as you see there. Being a Steeler fan, we're moving on from the Raiders, like always. It's always a loss, so we're going on to next week. We're on to Cincinnati, as Belichick said that one time. So we're moving on from that, but usually cover DFS, fantasy, a couple articles here and there, Pittsburgh, fantasy, hockey, and then you need on Twitter.
As I mentioned in the introduction, our platform is going to be DraftKings. Being DraftKings, there's a few things y'all should know. First of all, we cover cash. We cover cash tournaments. We do mostly the doubles, the triples, that kind of thing. We don't really prefer to do the larger tournaments. It's hard to take one of those down. So last week, as an example, I did a top 20 where you had to be in the top 10 to win money. My final line had 146 points. I finished third out of 20. And on another one, I finished 29th out of 200. So I was able to double my money last week. So that's the kind of tournament y'all will see from us. Like I said, probably not going to get the big cash games. We prefer to be a little bit more conservative because it's really hard to take those other ones down. That being said, with DraftKings, you've got a $50,000 salary cap. There's 9 positions that you have to fill. Those 9 are quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a defense. And there's always important games to remember. Like the 3 of us were discussing before we started tonight, there's a ton of injuries out there. Several players that are either doubtful and are already declared out. Some of them will come up in our discussion, but just keep that in mind for Sunday. As an example, Deontay Johnson's already declared out. T. Higgins is listed as doubtful. Dalvin Cook's, as we were talking about earlier, is questionable. So that's just something to keep in mind. You're setting your lineups here on a Friday night, but you have up until game time on Sunday. So just be watching all that. And also it's important to remember that like in the late afternoon games, some of those players may be late afternoon. So I always have pivot plays available for that. So those are just some important things that need to be discussed. And then in regards to the 3 games, we always play the main slate. And main slates are always going to be 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. games. 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. games. So the Thursday night game, which was last night, the Panthers and the Texans won't be included. Then on Sunday night, you got the Packers and the 49ers. And Monday, you've got the Eagles and the Cowboys. So none of those players will be available. And there's a lot of good players in that, those particular games. So just always keep that in mind. Then also, there's always some players that are playing on really high-scoring games. As an example, this week, you got the Chargers and the Chiefs. That's one of the better games. you've only actually got 3 teams that have an implied total over 55. So that's kind of one thing to keep in mind for all of this. Like I said, the Chargers and the Chiefs, the Bucks and the Rams, and also the Seahawks and the Vikings have the higher scoring games. So I always try to pick players that are on those particular teams. And then you've got some individual teams that are high scoring. This week, the Cardinals are sitting at 29.5 points. The Titans are at 27. The Ravens are at 29. And the Bills are at 26. So those are some other high scoring opportunities. At this point in time, I'd like to kick it over to my co-hosts and let them discuss their lineups.
All right. So I was thinking about my team on the way home because yesterday I was thinking about how my team did last week. Not great at all. So we're trying to do it a little different this week. First thing I thought of, I went defense first. So like the first pick I made, and I took Arizona. Give me anybody playing Jacksonville at this point. And I still think Chandler Jones took a break last week. I think he's going to come back this week, get a few sacks. And I think that defense gets at least 1 or 2 turnovers on Trevor Lawrence. And then for quarterback, you mentioned one of the matchups that are going to be high scoring. This quarterback did well against, team in this division last year, and I'm assuming it's going to continue. I went with Justin Herbert at 6,500. Running backs, because it sounds like all week Dalvin Cook isn't going to play. So for now, I took Madison at 6,000. He usually does very well when Dalvin Cook is hurt, which has happened quite a few times in Dalvin Cook's career. But at the same time, at 6,000, if you don't want to take Madison real quick, you can take Swift, 58, if you want to risk to see if he's playing. You have Gibson at 59 and Kareem Hunt at 56. So there's other options at around his price range, but I took Madison for now. Obviously, you can change it, by the time Sunday comes and there's a definite, whether he's going to play or not.
Hey, Mav, can you share the DraftKings?
I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
Just try not to interrupt you there.
No, that's fine. There we go. Sorry, guys.
All
there we
good.
go. So like I said, I took Herbert first at 65, Madison at 6, and Cardinals at 3,000 against Jacksonville. So my second running back, go back and look. I took a running back I've still been high on all offseason. Somebody that nearly saved me last season, McKissick at 52. Because last week, he wasn't really, with the offense against the Chargers week 1, but last week against the Giants, 20 points. Not that I'm saying he's going to give you 20 points, but he's going to give you, double digits. And, against Buffalo, you're going to have to score. Like I said last week, and I will say it every week this season, give me DeAndre Hopkins against anybody. Give me DeAndre Hopkins. That is my wide receiver 1.
Hopkins is the one for people to know. Watch out, though. He was listed game time decision, but I think he's going to play.
He's going to play. He's not missing.
Yeah. Just something to just keep just in case, but I would bet my pretty good 95% sure he's going to play, but just that it's out there that it is possible.
Yeah, he's another one that's been spoken about that he is hurt. I think it's his ribs, if I'm not mistaken. DraftKings also tells you what the injury is. Yes, his ribs. He's listed as questionable. He's a game time decision, just like everybody else is. Pretty sure the entire league's a game time decision, so you never know. Just be on the lookout.
Especially this week, yeah.
But if he can play against Jacksonville, play him. Unless you're going to assume Tyreek Hill is going to have a 75-yard touchdown pass, which happens here and there. You never know. That's pretty much what keeps him at wide receiver, as a wide receiver one that'll outscore D-Hop, is if he gets that 75-yard touchdown pass like he did against the Browns. Sorry, Christian, if you're listening. My second receiver, I never thought I'd actually take this player before. But he's been playing out of his mind. If he's healthy, he's going to play well, and it's against the Falcons. Give me Sterling Shepard at 5,900. He's wide receiver 1 on that team, and he's doing very well. 27 points week 1, week 2 against a very good Washington defense, 17. My wide receiver 3 that I took here, somebody that's been rumored to not be able to catch a pass, apparently. Give me Jamar Chase. He put up 13 points against the Bears. It was a very low-scoring game. 4 targets, two catches, but he does have a touchdown. So he's giving you a touchdown a week, at least. And now they don't have T. Higgins, so the wide receiver 1 on this team is not going to be Jamar Chase. I don't even know if anybody on Pittsburgh can defend him. I'll let these other 2 talk about that.
Don't dish Joe Hayden like that, okay?
Now, oh my God, we just saw this defense get torched on Monday Night Football because I had Aaron Jones. So I already know that defense got torched. Now, if there's anybody that's going to torch them in the passing game, it's going to be Mark Andrews at 5,000. Mark Andrews against Detroit. Because they're going to be worried about whether they can stop Lamar from running around the field. Somebody's going to be open. Whether it's Brown or Andrews.
And Brown's dinged up a little bit too.
Yeah, see, everybody's hurt. Give me Mark Andrews.
It's a rough week going on right now.
And then my last pick was my flex at 4,800. This was almost a steal. Granted, his quarterback might not play. Give me Zach Pascal because somebody has to catch the ball. And it's against Tennessee. Their defense really isn't that great. I think Brissett should be able to pass the ball to somebody and score some points.
Brissett, wrong team there. With Brissett.
Oh, Brissett's on. Yeah, he's not.
I know you're thinking he used to be on the Colts. It's Eason.
Yeah,
kid.
Eason. Yeah.
Yeah. I know Brissett's in our head because he's playing for Miami this week.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all good.
It's Eason. It's funny because I actually was reading about him earlier, and I looked to see if he played last week, and he did not play last week. Right? Did he play last week?
Eason got in at the end of the game whenever Wentz was out. He did throw one pick to Jalen Ramsey, but I don't know why he would come in and try to test Jalen Ramsey. He learned that real quick.
I'm forgetting his name, but Hundley, Ed Hundley, the other quarterback.
I think he's number 3.
He's taking a lot of first team reps this week. So I don't know if they're splitting reps what they're planning on doing. But either way, it's not a pretty sight. If
I guess they were just going to go with whoever was playing well, and if they had a bad drive.
If Wentz is in, that's a solid play.
If not,
yeah.
So now, when I looked at all this, and I forgot Wentz his third ankle is going to go out. I decided to make some changes. So there are some changes that I like in terms of like, pivot plays or like a second team that you can think about. Let me see, what did I change here? So I changed Madison because it felt too risky in case you wanted to put the team in now. If you wanted to lock it in, I removed Mark Andrews, Zach Pascal, and Sterling Shepard. Yeah. So for running back, I went with a better option, in my opinion. Give me Joe Mixon at 63. It's against Pittsburgh. Sorry.
All in on the Bengals, aren't you? All right.
I mean, it'll be a little. It might actually be higher scoring than we're anticipating. And especially Pittsburgh doesn't have TJ Watt, right?
He's questionable.
Yeah, who's gonna rush the passer?
Melvin Ingram's a good player. He's solid. He's played good for us for 2 games.
Else questionable at this point in time.
I think Watt's going to play. I just don't think he plays 100% of snaps.
I don't know.
That's
but they do get Joe Hayden and Devin Bush back, who they didn't have last week. That's huge.
Okay. Bush is back, though, right?
Yeah, Bush and Hayden, both of them.
Okay.
No, Joe Mixon is just somebody that's going to see the ball. Yeah, he got 20 touches, only 69 yards. That's against the Bears defense, who should be a lot better than they are. And then against Minnesota's average defense, 28. So he's just somebody that's just going to get touches regardless, which is what I'm banking on at this point, especially for somebody at around this price range, 63. Even then, you still got Montgomery against Cleveland, but I don't like going up against Cleveland's defense. You even got Chris Carson at 64 if you want to make another change there at 6,400. Might be a little better. But at receiver, I made the change, and I went with 5,000. I think Arizona should score 40 here. Give me Rondale Moore. They don't score 40. Something went wrong. At flex, 4,900. He still continues. He's like just another Brandon Cooks. He's going to continue to make plays. 4,900. Give me Marvin Jones Jr.
Yep.
Because they're going to have to keep up somehow. And if the Cardinals are going to score 1 million points, you're going to have to keep up. And now at 5,500, told everybody all offseason, he's going to be better than he was last year in terms of where he was. Give me Rob Gronkowski at tight end. Right? It was a shootout last year, Rams versus Bucks. It was a shootout, and it's going to be another shootout.
Yeah.
On Sunday. So this is my team.
Well, with your I can't price, but with the original roster you had with Madison, my pivot play to him was going down 200 from 6,000 to 5,800 was Tyson Williams for Baltimore. Hey, after seeing what Aaron Jones did, like so Mark Andrews, I could see him having a big game. He's getting the snaps over the other guys.
He got 13.
I think he pretty much is almost a lock to score at least once this week and probably get 15.
Even if he gets 13 for 77 or 2 catches, and he gets
and he'll catch a couple. Like I think he's away. I mean, assuming Dalvin Cook plays, obviously he's better than Madison, but I like that play. If Cook plays and you're in your original lineup, that would be my pivot off Madison for sure. And then and then the only other thing. Or sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying all Tyson needs here is a touchdown, and it's worth it.
Right. And then my only other pivot was with the original line with McKissick. You could go down from 5,200 to 4,900 to James White, who I think is, pretty much the same player, I think, opportunity-wise, and 300 cheaper. And then, but I had the same pivot as you as Pascal to Marvin Jones. So I think Marvin Jones is the better play, but if Wentz plays, I think it's pretty equal.
I actually prefer that second lineup. In regards to Madison, last year everybody thought he had a spot start, I want to say in like week 6, and everybody just thought slam dunk. But in reality, he scored less than 10 PPR fantasy points. So I don't love him. And I also think that Zach Pascal, his usage total, you say somebody's got to catch the passes. I agree with that, but at some point in time, Pittman's going to continue to do rather well. And Pascal he's had back-to-back weeks with touchdowns. I don't see it's kind of hard to predict he's going to have another one just to save his fantasy day, I think. So
also Paris Campbell is going this week. I don't know if that affects his role because he's kind of like the slot guy, so that shouldn't really affect. But in terms of McKissick against Buffalo's been really good against running backs. Najee didn't get going, and Gaskin didn't get going last week.
Yeah, so that's why I think I didn't want to play Gibson. So just
I'm off Gibson and McKissick this week. Buffalo's given up 108 yards total rushing in 2 games.
But now, in regards to Najee last week, he did squat in the running game, but in place of McKissick in the lineup, Najee had a pretty good game in the air. So
now if
he wound up decent fantasy, certainly wasn't on the ground.
If DeAndre Hopkins is hurt, then obviously, like I said, I also have Rondale Moore here, so you can go Christian Kirk, and now you got an extra 2,800 to play around with the entire roster after that.
Right.
I do like Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore because he's just going to spread the ball around pretty well to both of them.
Yeah. But like we said, we all anticipate Nuke to play Hopkins, so I'd be shocked if they rule him out unless they're like, you know what, it's Jacksonville. Let's give this dude the game off. We don't need him. Yeah,
which allows you to go from
you take him out, you could
Murray.
Almost blow up the whole thing if you really wanted to.
Yeah, so those are my plays there. I'll let Luke.
Okay. Well, when I started my lineup this week, I was completely lost because I couldn't play the guy I played the first 2 weeks of Brandon Cooks. I couldn't play him the cheat code. I assume his price will finally get jacked up next week. I imagine.
Luke, why couldn't you play him, by the way?
Because he was in that Thursday game, and he did what he did again. He had 100 yards. It don't matter who his quarterback is. As of right now, I know he has an extra game on everybody, but he's leading the NFL in receiving yards.
There's a stat going around, or there was a stat. I think he had over 100 receiving yards, but the quarterback had 130. Yeah,
it's dumb how good he is. I'm very interested to see if he gets traded at the deadline for sure.
He can come back. I'm okay with that.
Any team should want him.
Yeah.
But to start, I paid up because quarterbacks have burned me the first 2 weeks doing this. So I paid up, and I think he has his first big game of the year in Josh Allen. It's 7,000. I think the Bills' line is okay. The pass rush for good is Washington, but their secondary is not that great. Even Daniel Jones had a pretty good game last Thursday night against that Washington secondary. As you talked about, Sterling Shepard had a good game. So I think this will be the game. Finally, Josh Allen comes out of his shell, goes back to last year a little bit. For running back, I'm paying the price as the lowest. I hope this is his week with Saquon Barkley at 6,500. He got 10 days off after Thursday. He gets the Falcons. If this isn't his game, there's going to be red alerts going on everywhere because if you don't do it this time, his snap count's gone up the first 2 weeks. This seems like the perfect spot. And I don't know if you've ever seen Saquon Barkley that cheap in DraftKings. So let's hope he gets it done. I think the Falcons defense is atrocious all around. So this could be the game where Saquon gets 100 yards and a touchdown. We'll see what he does catch-wise. His catches never seem to have been the same since Eli left. Eli sure liked to throw to him a lot more. For the other running back, I went to Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 4,800, the guy nobody wants a piece of. I could not believe how low his price went. Now, last year, he only played one game against the Chargers, and in that game, he had his career highest targets at 8. Or catches in 8, I'm sorry. So we'll see if this is the game. They spent a first-round pick on him. I don't think they're punting from the guy. I know he literally cost them the game last week with I think that was his first fumble his entire career he lost. But for $4,800, with him and Barkley seem 2 bargain prices, 2 guys that a lot of people don't want to play that could extremely pay benefits for your lineup for sure. For wide receiver, now you had Jamar Chase, and obviously with the T. Higgins being out, I went Tyler Boyd at 4,700. Slot receivers kill the Steelers, especially now we don't have Mike Hilton and nickel, him being on their side. I think Tyler Boyd has a good game Sunday. He's very safe. I think his worst will get 5 for 50, and he might get more than that. He had a good game last week, and T. Higgins had a couple fumbles. Now, I don't know if that was due to his injury because I didn't even know until like 2 days ago T. Higgins was dealing with an injury, and all of a sudden he's doubtful. I don't think he's playing. So Tyler Boyd in the slot will be a good quick pass guy for Joe Burrow. He's going to have to get the ball out quick with the Pittsburgh pass rush. For my next receiver, I went 6,000 for Cortland Sutton. This man, everybody thought, is it KJ Hamler? Is it Tim Patrick last week? No, it's just Cortland Sutton. He had like 158 yards. He didn't score, and he had 61 more air yards last week. And he gets the Jets secondary. So Cortland Sutton should have 100 yards again. Maybe he gets in the end zone for the first time this year. Teddy Bridgewater's playing really well out there in Denver. Prove me wrong. I thought they should have started Drew Lock, but it shows you what I know. That's why I'm down here and not in the NFL coach, right? Because Bridgewater looks very good so far for Denver. I think Sutton has a big game. He is the alpha guy there. He broke out 2 years ago before he got hurt. Maybe he's finally getting back to form. For wide receiver? For my next wide receiver for stack with Josh Allen, we're going to go Emanuel Sanders at 4,200. Emanuel Sanders played 94% of the snaps in week 1, and he's 6th in air yards. And then he had 79% of the snaps last week with 32 out of 36 dropbacks. And if you see the highlights of it, Josh Allen is just missing him a couple times from scoring. And like I mentioned with the Washington secondary, I think this is the week Manny Sanders scores a touchdown, at least has like 70 yards. I think Manny has a good game this week. I was on him last week. I don't know if it was on this but I know I played him in a DraftKings, but I think Manny Sanders can have a good game this week for sure. Something about that Buffalo line, when I first saw it was kind of big. I think Vegas knows something here. I think Buffalo's going to have fun with Washington. I think Taylor Heinicke's going to have a tough time versus that Buffalo D, and Buffalo's going to finally break out on offense a little bit. And tight end, I got a lot of cheap guys there, so I did pay for Travis Kelce. Why not? You were able to pay for Travis Kelce, you're going to be able to beat everybody pretty much. You got an advantage if you can fit them in there. At 8,200, it's a big price. You're getting a top 5 wide receiver at your tight end position. I think I saw today he's number 3 overall if you combine receivers and tight ends and fantasy points. He's just cheat code, and there's nothing more to say about Travis Kelce. For my last flex, I did go the Colts with you, but I went Michael Pittman at 5,500. This is also the same thing, obviously. If Wentz doesn't play, I'm not doing this. There was a lot of guys at the 5,500 price I liked, but if Wentz plays, I do like Michael Pittman. I think the Titans' defense is still bad. Seahawks got Freddie Swain to run wide open on a play. Michael Pittman had a big game last week. I think he has another big one if Wentz plays this week. And then for defense, I went with the Saints at 3,100. I just think that game's going to be extremely low scoring. I think you can play both defenses and be happy. Rookie quarterback, obviously, and then Jameis Winston on their side, who acts like a rookie 70% of the time, throwing so many picks. So I think either defense in that game is fine. So that was my main ones. The main pivot I only had was, like I said, Michael Pittman for 5,500. I think a sneaky guy at 5,500 this week is Kenyon Drake in that revenge game type role. The Raiders, I think Josh Jacobs' list is doubtful. And I think Miami is not very good in terms of like the running game. They have a good secondary, but I think with Jacoby Brissett, you could see a lot of dump off passes and short passes, and Drake catches all the ball. Peyton Barber's not catching anything. So Drake, how many catches did he have against Pittsburgh last week? He had a few, didn't
5.
he? Yeah, I could see that again, and maybe gets in the end zone. The revenge game factor always seems to matter with these things. So 5 for 50, that's 10 points if he actually does get some carries. I think that's a nice little pivot off Pittman. Or obviously with Gronk too. I think Gronk's the same price. You could obviously pivot to that.
I just think with the Raiders, unless it's Josh Jacobs, I don't want anybody there.
Right.
Because I was looking because I had to play him because I have both Jacobs and Kenyon Drake.
You could also obviously Waller too.
Trying to think, what's his name? Peyton Barber had more carries.
Yeah, he's so bad. That's, I mean, just PPR wise, Drake is like their poor man's James White. Basically, he's going to get you 10 if you feel really good about the rest of your lineup. You need a safe play if Wentz is out. The only other pivot I had, also Michael Pittman. If you go down 200, does anybody want to try the OBJ experience this week with no Jarvis Landry and the Bears secondary a little rough? First game back, I think he'll be on a pitch count, but he's 5,300. And then basically if I went down to him and then I paid up from Tyler Boyd to Marvin Jones, goes up 200, makes up the price. So just a couple pivots there. Also kind of funny, I had Justin Herbert as a pivot, and I've seen those in both your guys' starting lineups. So we're all three on Herbert this week.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go down 600. Give me Marvin Jones.
Yeah. I like Marvin a lot this week. That's what I said. If you go from Michael Pittman down to OBJ, then you go Tyler Boyd up to Marvin Jones, and then you're still at the 50,000.
And then with the extra 600, you can go from Clyde Edwards-Helaire because no thanks for me on him. No thanks until he does something.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Then give me McKissick.
It's just their offense is so good, and I don't know what happened from last year to this year where all the targets went and everything. And when I look back at the Chargers game last year, he was out with the second Chargers game because they had everything clinched, so he didn't play. But the first game was his highest catch and targets that he had. He was involved so much. I just don't know where it's happened.
I see a massive difference in the run with the running back position from Kareem Hunt to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And Kareem Hunt got a lot of touches. I never saw that with CEH, even though he had like a few good games here and there, but I never saw
his rookie game, he came out and everyone's like, oh, here we go. I think he scored once or twice the first game, and everyone's like, oh, he's Jamal Williams. Like, let's calm down a little bit. But
yeah,
I just think with his price as a bargain, he's not going to get 3 points like he did last week. He's got to touch the ball. I just can't see him. What are they going to do? Throw Jared McKinnon out there? I mean
don't be shocked if Darrell Williams was involved.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the last 2 weeks has averaged less than 3.5 yards a carry.
So, I don't know where the targets went. They said there was one play last week where they had a screen pass called, and Larry Mahomes was like, I ain't throwing it to him. He just do it somewhere else on the screen pass. So I don't know. It's 4,800. DraftKings said, hey, come get him if you want him. So I'm gonna take the bait.
The price tag is tempting. I just wonder what he'll produce. But at that price tag, less than $5,000, if he gets 10 points, that's double your price.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And a game that should have a lot of points with the Chargers and Chiefs, we expect a lot of fire. I mean, last week we thought the Chargers and the Cowboys, and that let us all down.
Yeah.
But every time the Chargers scored, there was a flag. I don't know what was going on with Jerry Jones and the refs there, but
I am glad the Cowboys are not like our primetime game, and like
yeah, that was a flag fest. The flags were ridiculous overall. But that's my lineup. I think Manny Sanders is my favorite sneaky play. He's been so close to connecting with Josh Allen. It's going to happen eventually, I believe. So that's my main slate lineup I got for you guys.
One thing I mentioned earlier that I think I need to take back a little bit is that most of my lineups are not for the larger tournaments. But usually my ownerships are not necessarily low, but I think in your particular case, we're probably doing some relatively lower owned players, don't you?
Yeah, which could be very beneficial. Obviously, no one's playing Edwards-Helaire after last week. You'll be all alone on that bridge. If he gets 5 points, well, you're done. But I think, like you said, if he gets 10, you're set. The rest of your lineup performs. That's all you need out of somebody that pay that low.
Yeah, this could be a larger tournament play, I think. Like I said, I usually don't go that route because being a horse player, I know that hitting the pick six is pretty hard to do. But in all honesty, kind of lineup, you're going to have low ownership across the board. A lot of these players are players that have performed in the past, but even like Josh Allen hasn't done much to speak of this year. So pretty much all the way down your list are players that have done well in the past that, they're overdue. And
pretty much everybody except for, Kelsey, basically. And, Sutton had a good game last week. But, yeah, basically it is a lot of past players other than Kelsey. The only guy I tried to get in the lineup for a pivot was Melvin Gordon. But with him and Javonte Williams, they're just splitting. Somebody's going to do good against the Jets. They might both be good. But it's just they're splitting it 50-50 right down the middle. It's hard.
I think the score is going to be such a way. I mean, they're 10.5-point favorites. I could see the score being in such a way that the passing game, that's a downside to Sutton this week, is the fact that in reality they could be so far ahead they may just pound the rock and go to both Gordon and Williams.
If Sutton doesn't have much at the half, you might be in trouble. I get your point with that.
The only thing is, the only reason I won't touch a Denver Broncos receiver, I have Judy on one of my sleeper teams. Teddy Bridgewater isn't known for getting so many passing yards, so I feel like every time it's a risk. Like, I'm surprised Sutton even went off for as much as he did.
Well, it's Jacksonville, like you said.
it's great that he did, but Teddy Bridgewater's best year, I think the Vikings offense was ranked 30th in passing.
Right.
So
it might have been the Jaguars, but the Jets D isn't much better. So maybe you ride it for one more week.
I've never been high on Teddy Bridgewater.
I feel bad for Zach Wilson. First he gets to play Belichick. Now he's got to play the Denver D on the road. Like, this kid's not getting any help.
And as a fantasy quarterback, his best performance ever, Bridgewater's, is QB 19 on the season, and that was just last year. He's on pace to throw 595 passes, and his highest ever is 495. So you got to like what you see so far for Bridgewater. But I wrote an article today where my two lesser value plays in DFS, and boy, it hurt, were Bridgewater and Daniel Jones. So I'm not. It's a weird.
Daniel Jones should be good this week, and I think everybody's going to stream him, which could be scary.
The only thing I'm hoping for, off topic with teams, so I did look it up. James Robinson is leading his team in rushing yards, and he has no touches. Urban Meyer, you make coaching look easy. Can you give James Robinson the ball?
It's crazy. And with Denver too, they played the Giants, the Jets, the Giants, the Jaguars, now the Jets. They couldn't have a much easier start to the schedule. Yeah. Then they get to start playing hard teams starting week 4. So we'll see if Denver's for real. Their defense is good. I do believe that. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, why don't you feed James Robinson? Because in reality, Lawrence is only 50% completion rate right now. So yeah, we expected big things, and he'll do them eventually. But first 2 games have been pretty rough for him. I'd give James Robinson a little bit more touches for sure.
James Robinson is my toughest start-sit decision in a league. It's James Robinson or Melvin Gordon, and I'm
in the same position.
Yeah, same way. Yeah, I think I'm just going to let my 12-year-old pick and go with it.
Yeah, I get that for sure. I think I'm starting Melvin Gordon in one league, but a little hesitant.
Safer. All right, Brian, you want to go with yours?
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, this being the week 3 of our show, I have constantly talked about implied totals and also defensive points given up by to the four main skill positions. In reality, I went to that way to the best of my ability this week, but there are a couple of players that sometimes situation means more than some of your main cogs in regards to your decisions. So I kind of went off the beaten cuff for me because I had like Luke said, it wasn't the easiest week to make out a lineup because there were a lot of good plays, but then there were a lot of injuries too. So that's kind of like we mentioned earlier. That's really important to keep in mind, keep on track. So for me, I was able to get a pretty good stack going. So I'll start that off. Justin Herbert was my quarterback. He was sitting at 6,500, and then along with him, I wanted to go with Austin Eckler. He was sitting at 7,200. So I anticipate that Chiefs-Chargers game being a really exciting, high-scoring game. And in reality, besides Travis Kelce, it's really hard to get multiple Chiefs players. You've almost got to go somewhat contrarian and go with the underdog in this one. So for me, that made a really good stack out of it. I didn't mind going with Keenan Allen, but surprisingly last year, the Chiefs were actually second in terms of giving up the least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers. So I stayed away from Keenan. The Chiefs didn't do nearly as good a job against running backs, so I took Austin Eckler instead. So
Chiefs D looks a little rough to start the year, though. I will say that.
Eckler?
No, the Chiefs defense in general this year is rough.
Well, they can't. He just can't stop the run.
Right. Yeah, Honey Badger don't help stop there. He shuts down about everything in the past, but
I see a bunch of dump offs to Eckler in this one. Just I think off the top of my head, last week he had 8 catches against the Cowboys or something like that. So
he had 9.
So
that was good to see because he didn't have any targets week 1. That must have just been a weird thing because I was a little worried. And then last week I'm like, oh, okay, there he is.
There we go.
yeah, I was thinking to myself, I drafted him I believe it was the first round or second. I took Eckler and Tyreek Hill, and I was thinking to myself, okay, so is this what I'm going to see out of Eckler, like 9 or 10 carries and no catches?
Yeah,
that works so swell.
That would not be good.
I was like,
And then Eckler goes off week 2 and Tyreek Hill gets shut down.
Right, opposite.
yeah. So last week is an ugly week in that league for me, but anyhow, there's always the third week. And then to go along with Eckler, I went with Chris Carson. He was sitting at 6,400. I feel like they'll have a pretty good game against the Vikings, so it made sense to me. Vikings are another one of those defenses that really can't stop anybody, so I didn't mind that. And then next, in regards to my first wide receiver, I think we've heard this name before, and this is one of those plays that don't necessarily fit the mold. I went with Jamar Chase as well as Mav, and on that one, a lot of that has to do with the fact that T. Higgins is out, or at least at this point, doubtful. I don't see him playing. So there should be increased targets. The only thing that concerns me about Chase is he's really been so far, and he was this way in college too, in a lot of ways. It was a big play wide receiver. So he's gotten the touchdowns, he's gotten the long touchdowns, but I really need to see more catches and targets from him because, like we just discussed, Tyler Boyd's going to get his. T. Higgins, I think T. Higgins last week had 10 targets. So at some point in time, Chase has to get more targets and not rely on the big plays. So I'm hoping for that this week, and hopefully it'll be that. The next guy that I always seem to find myself on is Chris Godwin. He was sitting at 6,100, and I think that'll be another one of those high-scoring games between the Rams and the Bucks. And Godwin's done really well. Last week, Evans and Gronk had 2 touchdowns apiece. So I had to settle for one. And needless to say, the Rams defense is pretty good, very good, in fact. So that was another one of those plays that I went contrarian to my own beliefs in a lot of ways. I think I anticipated being a high scoring game. The implied totals there, but the Rams defense oftentimes shuts down the opposing wide receiver. So I'm a little concerned about that, but still at that price tag of 61, I felt like it was worth taking a chance.
I'm curious to see who Jalen Ramsey goes on Mike Evans or Godwin more. He could go either one, or he might just rotate. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to watch that matchup.
That's why I've mentioned that the Bucs defense is pretty good. The Rams defense is pretty good. So I'm always worried a little bit. But a guy that we were talking about earlier today, Luke and I is my next wide receiver, Robert Woods. He's sitting at 5,700. I know so far that Cooper Kupp's just been everything. But being honest, over the last few years, Woods has been every bit of the wide receivers Cooper Kupp has. And at some point in time, there's got to be some regression to the mean. I mean, in reality, players typically go back to their historical performances, and it's time for Woods to get some of this instead of Cooper Kupp because they're equally good. Neither one, in all honesty, in terms of PPR wide receivers, Woods has performed slightly better than Kupp over the last few years. So it's eventually time for Woods to get his.
He had nine targets last week. The Kupp's 11. It's just he had Kupp and more catches. So the targets are coming for Woods. You're right. It's going to happen. It has to.
Last year when they played, the Bucks made the Rams look like the greatest show on turf. It was like watching Kurt Warner and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt because they both went off and Jared Goff looked like God out there. So it could happen again.
And we all know if Jared Goff can look like God, Matthew Stafford certainly has that ability. There's definitely a downgrade in that one.
I remember watching that game. It was so upset to watch. I'm like, every Brady quarterback team makes other opposing quarterbacks like that are bad look great. And Jared Goff looked like prime Dan Marino out there, and both Woods and Kupp both had like 20 fantasy points, I think, in that game.
At tight end, I went with TJ Hawkinson. He was sitting at 5,200. In reality, he's been, either the tight end 2 or 3, depending upon how you view between him and Waller so far in the season. And last week they weren't competitive in the game against the Packers after the halftime, but they have one of those don't quit mentalities. I heard somebody talking about their coach Dan Campbell today, and he doesn't care what the score is. He he has absolutely one of the worst teams and definitely the least amount of talent of any team in the NFL. Quintez Cephas, thank God for him, but in reality, he wouldn't be playing for any other team other than the Lions. So somebody's got to do well, and especially we mentioned earlier that DeAndre Swift is questionable this week. I think he'll play likely, but at the same time, if he doesn't, where are you going to go other than T.J. Hawkinson and possibly Cephas? So the targets are going to be there for Hawkinson. So
if Swift is out, I think you can pivot to Jamal Williams at his price tag probably.
You can. There's no doubt. Jamal, I was kind of surprised that Williams wasn't a little bit more involved in the second half last week. He had decent numbers, like 7 carries for 25 yards in the first half, and maybe I think a reception or two. And then the second half, I don't even think he had a single carry.
Right.
So I was kind of shocked. But like you said, you can definitely pivot to Jamal Williams. He's done well. The next guy I've got, he's actually currently considered as doubtful, but I've got Darnell Mooney. Through 2 weeks, he's had either 13 or 15 targets. I'm thinking he's had 13 targets, and I'm thinking the 15 belongs to our young man from Rondell Moore from the Cardinals, I think, or maybe I'm vice versa. Maybe Mooney has 15, and Rondell has 13. Either way, he's gotten a fair share of targets.
He's 4,300.
Oh,
yeah, he's at 4,300. The one thing I'm really interested in this week is the change at quarterback. That's what do y'all think about the change at quarterback there?
Dalton's not going to get back on the field. That's what I think.
I've got Fields in what I would consider my homeboy league of 17 years, and he's my backup, of course. We get to keep one keeper a year, and so next year I can keep him in the 10th round. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm really looking forward to him. He didn't do much last week, but I could see pretty big things from Justin Fields. And he's another one that I wouldn't mind. If I wanted to go cheap at quarterback, I think he's sitting right at 5,200 if memory serves me.
I almost did that in this, and I was like, no, I'm not going to be Ohio State homer, but he's going to get rush yards too.
Honestly, I'll be a little different. Christian, I hope you're not watching.
Oh yeah, get that defense.
I don't know I don't know if the Browns defense is the defense you want him going up against first. I'm also very skeptical about any quarterback for the Bears. It doesn't matter who it is. They've never developed a quarterback in my lifetime I've been watching football. Yes, Fields prospect-wise is better than anybody they've ever had. You know, Rex Grossman, Kyle Orton, even Jay Cutler, Andy Dalton.
That's enough.
Yeah. So honestly, and Trubisky, I'm not gonna lie, I loved his college tape.
Mm-hmm.
He looked really good coming out. I was surprised. I'm like, all right, the Bears finally got their guy. Here comes Adam Gase. He's probably at not Adam Gase. I'm talking about Adam Gase all over Twitter today.
Matt Nagy?
Adam Gase 2.0. Yes, Matt Nagy. There we go. I don't know what it is. He's just not a good coach who should have been fired halfway through the season last year. So I'm actually scared for Fields.
The Browns secondary has not been good, but obviously we have Myles Garrett and Clowney.
He's gonna have people in his face all day.
Right. If Allen Robinson could get behind him, like you said, Mooney's got a questionable tag or doubtful. I'm not sure. I didn't even know he was injured actually.
He's questionable. He's practicing a limited capacity all week long, so the likelihood he's playing. But that is a really good question. Good point. When was the Bears' last good quarterback?
McMahon, probably.
McMahon, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. He wasn't even that good.
Jay Cutler was decent, but he was
that one special. Year they got to the conference championship. That was it.
Grossman got him in the Super Bowl, but it wasn't because of him.
But
Devin Hester.
Devin Hester in the defense.
Yeah.
Bobby Douglas, late 60s, early 70s. No, I mean, they just haven't had good quarterbacks at all. So.
No.
And then I've got one last position here. My DST is going to be the Cardinals playing against the Jags at home. The Cardinals have done really well the first 2 weeks. Well, not really last week. The week before they did well. And the Jags offense has been really, really bad. Trevor Lawrence, I saw it today. He has 5 interceptions on 2 games. So, and they've not scored many points in either game. So
yeah, they'll get some sacks and a couple turnovers, and that's all you need out of a defense, really.
I wouldn't be shocked at the pick 6 either.
Urban's making Trevor Lawrence throw it often, right off the rip here. Like we said, he's not giving it to James Robinson. So
No, that's the frustrating thing. So that's basically my lineup. Did y'all see any pivots you'd like to? Sorry.
I only had one when I went through it. I didn't have a lot of time to go through it, but I just went from Chase down to 100 OBJ. I think OBJ might have a game. I mean, with Landry being gone and the Bears secondary being bad, he's the only receiver there. Maybe it's all the tight ends and the running backs, but maybe it's me being biased thinking Joe Hayden's going to get Chase. And like you said, Chase really only has 2 big plays. You take off those 2 big touchdowns, he really hasn't been all that great, which is why I play Tyler Boyd just as a safer play. But I think OBJ to Chase, I don't know what the difference will be. They might both do the same. I don't see them very different this week. It's only $100 difference. So that's all I really have with your lineup. I actually liked your lineup a lot personally, other than the Mooney injury, obviously, which we could pivot from pretty easy.
Did y'all have any other pivot players elsewhere you'd like to mention? I've got a couple if you don't.
I'm good unless Mav has one. Do we have a pivot for Darnell Mooney down at his price tag in case he is out?
Maybe Emanuel.
I'd have to move around a little things.
Yeah, Manny.
Emanuel Sanders, maybe Demarcus Robinson.
How much is, I don't know how to say his name, but Russell Gage is out for Atlanta. How much is that Zacchaeus kid? Because he could be sneaky this week versus the Giants D. Good luck. You don't have to find him. But he's got to be cheaper than 4,300. He has 2 catches on the season. But with Russell Gage out, he could be a pivot play if you absolutely need to.
And one other thing I've got here is Waddle for the Dolphins. He's $300 more, but I could always make adjustments elsewhere. I don't mind him this week.
Yeah, Waddle was somebody else I was looking at too. I was looking at Waddle.
He's got high upside. One guy I really like at quarterback, I've already mentioned Bridgewater. He was sitting at 5,800. Another sneaky play that I would consider as a stack is Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. I really like Cousins sitting at 6,300 and Jefferson sitting. I think he's around 76 to 78 in that
72.
Yeah, right now he's the 3rd best fantasy score receiver on his team. I think we need to quit with this Osborne kid. I mean, Osborne really just caught that ball at the beginning of the game, but Jefferson's going to have his game. I kind of wanted to put Jefferson and DK Metcalf in my lineup. Same with Lockett. Like DK Metcalf's due for a game. So those two both are probably going to have – it's going to happen eventually, kind of like what we said with Robert Woods.
Yeah, Jefferson's sitting at 7,200. Something that I was going to do is I can't believe I'm actually saying this is Shepard and D Jones.
D Jones should be good. The Falcons D is terrible. That's why I played Saquon this week.
One sneaky play I've got at running back is Myles Gaskin playing at the Raiders. His yards per carry has been really good, but he's only had 9 carries, I think, was his highest carry of the week. He's averaging like 5.3 yards per carry, and he's had 9 catches in 2 weeks, but he's just not getting the volume in terms of rushes. So I could see him being a very sneaky play this week.
Especially with 2 out, they're going to have to lean on the running backs.
Is Gaskin somebody you want to lean on?
I mean, it's all you got, man. I don't know.
Oh, no,
You're not going to lean on Malcolm Brown or Savon Ahmed or whatever.
Brissett's the quarterback here. There we go. See?
Yeah, they're not going to.
I remember Brissett now. I don't know. Raiders defense could be one to play too.
Is this not a game that the Raiders lose all the time, though? Right after they come off 2 big wins. Oh, the Raiders are for. Oh, wait, they just lost the Dolphins without. This is just what the Raiders do. But yeah, I actually picked up the Raiders D this week in one in my fantasy league. Just it's Brissett. It's at home, but man, if the Raiders lose this game, I'm just gonna laugh.
The Dolphins are lucky. Yannick Ngakwe's out. He's still out, right? I don't remember what his injury is.
No, I haven't seen him.
They're so lucky he's out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we've mentioned him. We may have, but in that Chiefs-Chargers game, Jared Cook sitting at 3,800 is a real good inexpensive tight end.
He should have had a touchdown last week. There was a phantom penalty call, one of many against the Chargers. So
I'm thinking about picking up, and this might be the wrongest play of all, but I'm thinking about in a redraft league picking up Jared Cook for Jonnu Smith. I'm kind of getting sick.
Ooh, how's Matt feel about that one?
Yeah, I've come around to saying like all the time they missed in the off season is coming back to hurt them. They're not getting the touches I thought they'd be getting.
Yeah. All right. Well, we better hop to the spread picks here.
Let's do it.
Yes. So spread picks. I actually got some right here.
All right. Yeah, we need to redeem ourselves as a whole last week.
So we're gonna start with the Bills. We're talking about how they're gonna put a stomping on Washington because Danny Dimes is gonna run all over them. Josh Allen should be able to do the same, no problem, right? And their spread there, it's 7.5. Give me Buffalo in Buffalo. Now, I'm sorry about your boy Christian. I know you'll be watching this. If you're not watching now, you'll be watching this later. I'm sorry about your boy, man. Browns -7. Give me the Browns. I don't know what your boy's gonna do, Justin Fields. I don't know, man. He's gonna be running around for his life all day. Give me the Browns -7.
That's not a Christian Homer pick to me for sure, but that's okay.
I mean, I think he'll be happy with me picking the Browns this time, but I don't know, man. Fields is gonna have a rough first start, and then you might see me on Twitter talk about Mac Jones being the best rookie so far.
I didn't pick that game, but I have a funny feeling the Bears win that game personally. But I didn't pick it. But Fields is coming back to Ohio, man. He's back to Ohio State.
I don't know.
That'll be fun to watch for sure.
Seems like less airtime for you, Luke. After that one, not sure.
Now, road favorite. Give me Baltimore, coming off that hot win against Kansas City. They're gonna keep running. They're gonna run away with this. Give me Baltimore -7.5 against Detroit. After a heartbreaking loss last week, where's this game at? I'm blind. I don't see it. Am I blind? Okay, give me the Chiefs in Arrowhead -7. Chiefs might beat the Chargers by 3 touchdowns. We don't even know.
Oh.
Give me the Chiefs -7. I'm still going to keep going with what I was saying early in the season. Sure, I was wrong about week 1, but I don't think it changes. They won't lose this week. I've probably scrolled. Give me the Patriots -3. They're going to keep winning. I don't know what's going to happen next week, but they're going to win this week. Like they should have won week 1. They're going to win week 3. When it'll be 2-1. Give me that. Give me the Patriots -3 against the Saints.
What I'm interested in knowing is what do y'all think the point spread will be in that game next week between the Bucks and Pats?
I think the Bucks gonna be the favorite, probably by maybe 4 points.
I was gonna say 5.5.
I was going to say more like 7, but that's just my best guess.
It might go down if the Rams beat Tampa this week.
If it's high scoring, because the Bucks is -1.5.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a lot to do. It'll have a lot to do with how this game is.
It'll be interesting.
Because the Bucks games have been very high scoring. Their defense have given them quite a few points, even to the Falcons.
Yeah.
The only thing that saved them was 2 pick sixes from it being a lot closer than it should have been. But I've already given you 5 games. I'm going to give you an extra one. I'm going to give you an extra one. I'll give you a 6.
What? I got 4 for you. I'm trying to keep track of them. I have Browns, Ravens, Chiefs, Patriots. Did you have a 5th one?
Bills was the first one.
Oh, the Bills. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So now this one, where is it? Give me the Cardinals. So here, I guess on my paper it was 7.5. They might have bumped it up to 8.
Yeah.
Cardinals should win by like 2 touchdowns. They should have won by more last week, but the Vikings are pretty good. The Jaguars aren't. Give me the Cardinals -8.
Okay.
Kyler Murray should have 400 passing yards and 150 rushing yards.
Okay. It's interesting. You got 6 favorites picked.
That's just what I got here, man.
I just realized that.
The only thing is, I think like 2 of them are on the road, right? Ravens, Cardinals.
I think that was it, right?
Yeah. So I do got some road favorites here.
Yeah.
I don't like any of the underdog picks. If anything, the only underdog I can see winning is the Packers.
Okay. I have 2 dogs picked on mine, but they're not. I'm not going against you in either of them, so they're different games.
Maybe the Vikings. I can see the Vikings pulling off the upset because they should have beaten them last year, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
They went for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal, which is dumb.
Right.
And then like this plus 10.5, you can. I wouldn't mind taking the Jets here. Yeah, that's a lot, especially from Bridgewater.
Seeing Zach Wilson against New England though, I can't take him.
that's a Jets versus Patriots thing. That's
right.
I don't see that happening against anybody else. Bengals Steelers +3. I can see that going either way. Falcons finally waking up +3. You can definitely take that the other way.
Mine I went. Oh, I was actually with you on the first game. I'm with you on Buffalo. I think they smack Washington. Get right game for Josh Allen here. So I'm with you 1 for 1 on that one. My one total of the week, I'm just going to keep taking Patriots unders until a game gets high scoring and the Saints have a good D2. it's not going to be a high-scoring game, I don't think. What's it on there, 43, 42?
43, yeah.
Yeah, 21-17, something like that. 20 to 10, like Jameis Winston wasn't good last week. I don't see a lot of points in a lot of Patriots game. Now, I won't take the under when Tom Brady comes to town next week. I'll be all the way off, but I'm going to go with that again. It's been good for 2 straight weeks. Seems to be the only total I do good with. Or underdog, I'm going to go against Brady. I'm taking the Rams getting a point at home, or a point and a half, whatever it's at.
Point and a half.
I'm taking the better defense. That's just it. I think the Tampa secondary is not good, and Stafford's going to have a heyday. Kind of like you said last week, looked like the greatest show on turf last year, and that was with Goff. So I'm on the Rams this week, getting a point at home or minus a point. It keeps flipping back and forth. So my other underdog, I'm going to take the Vikings +2 at home against Seattle. I don't think they go 0-3. The Vikings they don't know how to win close games, kind of like the Chargers. They could very well be 2-0 between the Bengal game and missing the field goal versus the Cardinals at the end. That's just what the Vikings do.
Probably should be 2-0.
Right. This game will come down to the end, and just hopefully Russell Wilson don't have the ball last. That's the only worry. But I like the Vikings getting 2 at home. It's it's kind of like Vegas is baiting into Seattle here. Seattle has the better quarterback. Vikings have the better overall team. I'll take Minnesota +2 at home. And then I'm going to the Monday night game. I'm going to take the favorite. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Eagles. Eagles are going to be down 2 linemen. Looks like for sure their left tackle's out, possibly another one. We might have the rookie play for the first time. And Amari Cooper's good to go. So I think the Cowboys defense is a little bit better than we thought. They're playing okay. I know they got some injuries banged up right now. That Micah Parsons kid is for real, though. He's the real deal.
Some flags helped them, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're in Jerry world. They're going to get even more help for that department. So if you wanted me to throw a 6 game out there, if you want to just do 6 this week, just be fun. You do an extra game out there. Looking quickly, just scroll up a little bit. There's one I liked. You scroll up on the screen.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, it was the Pittsburgh Cincy also under. Just 2 good defenses. The Bengals are very good against the run this year, and the Pittsburgh offense does not look good at all.
Are you looking for the Bengals? Did I scroll over it? Oh, here we go.
It's right there, yeah. It's 42-43. I see that being another low-scoring game. Both teams are going to try to run, and both teams are missing their star receiver. T. Higgins and Deontay are both out. Defensive battle, 17-10, typical AFC North football. Give me the under in that game. Like you said, toss-up, 3-point spread. I wouldn't touch that either way.
Christian, he's listening or watching right now. He said Ramsey has been in the slot over 50% of the snaps so far, so he might be on Godwin. And he said Fields is going to go off, but Browns are going to win by 10.
Tell him the Bears are winning, or he's listening. Bears are winning that game. But yeah, I'm going Bengals Steelers under as my official ad, if you will. So on to you,
Okay.
Brian.
Yeah, good, Brian. Finish it off.
And then I don't know what it is about this week, but I went all favorites myself, to be honest with you.
Uh-oh.
Like y'all, I went Bills -7.5, I think we decided.
That's not good. We're all on the Bills. That's a problem.
Exactly. Hopefully it won't be. Hopefully we'll give great advice this week.
Yeah.
I went Cards -7 versus the Jags. I went Broncos -10.5 against the Jets. I've got the Raiders -4 versus Miami, even though I teased the Raiders a while ago. And last but not least, I went Dallas with the Monday night special against the Eagles. And if I had to pick a 6th one, I'll just go with the Rams as well.
Okay. So we got some similar ones this week.
Yeah,
hopefully that bodes well, because we're all kind of all over the place last week and we couldn't get crap right. The only ones we seemed to get right were the ones we were against each other. So let's figure that out.
Our DFS
for sure.
was really good. Hopefully our bets against the spread will be better this week. So at this point in time, if y'all don't mind, give your Twitter handles and we'll head out of here.
Nah, we were running short on time because I'll talk too much.
Okay. It's all good, man. It's all good content.
Where are we going? Boom and boom. There we go.
There it is.
That is my Twitter handle, Protagonist TV _ because Protagonist is taken. Protagonist TV is taken by people that don't use Twitter. Unbelievable. But yes, that is me. My first name is Maverick, so you are more than welcome to call me by that. I will be tweeting about the Patriots game a lot on Sunday for sure, because looking forward to us doing well this year. So that's what you'll find me tweeting about the most, on top of my fantasy team if we're doing well.
I'm just Lucas DePau at Lucas DePau. Come talk to me about Pittsburgh during the game Sunday or anything fancy related. I'm pretty glued to that Red Zone channel in Pittsburgh on Sundays, so I'll do my best to get on my phone for the Twitter portion of it.
And my name's you can follow me at VandyGrad92 on Twitter. Last Sunday we had a start sit show here at the FFB Network, so please at the Cut Network, please follow us here on Sunday. I think we'll have one again. And follow, like I said, follow all of my information there at VandyGrad92. Most importantly, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. This is our third week. Hopefully, had a rather smooth show in your all's mind and opinion. And we're looking forward to next week. Once again, it's Friday nights at 8 o'clock, and we'll be right back here with you. Y'all have a good week. Good luck in all your games.
Good luck, guys.
Peace out.